Now I have to be on the mic and walk up the stairs. Ooh, tricky. Okay. Oh, James, is this your phone? You probably want that. I mean, you might not want it, but I don't want it up here. Good morning, you guys. If you haven't had a chance to meet me, I'm Mackenzie Rambo. I'm our youth pastor here, and I love getting a chance to teach on Sunday mornings. But this morning in particular, I'm not as stoked as usual because the noise and craziness that's happening out there, I'm usually a part of. So no offense, but once a month I get to eat donuts and act like I'm a teenager again, and it's my favorite. So I'm a little bit bummed I'm missing that, but I guess we'll have a good time in here too. Secondly, it is a couple people's birthdays, and I'm going to embarrass them. A couple of them I can't really embarrass because they're out there, but two of our seniors this year, Leah and Kyle, they're 18 today. So if you see them, embarrass them, sing them happy birthday. They hate that, but I love to embarrass them. So if you see them, they would be mad at me later, not you. And then secondly, it is Joel's birthday today, too. He's my husband, if you're like, Joel, cool. Yeah, he's my husband, and I just wanted to wish you a happy birthday. It'd be embarrassing from the stage. You're the best, and I love all of you, even your timely farts. Which, to really embarrass him, you guys, he is a farty man. We just found out like a year ago that he's gluten intolerant. You guys, it's bad. So this was not planned. This is nothing I wrote down, so sorry. 2 nights ago, it was like unreal. Like I'm like waking up every like 5 minutes to just wah, 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 wee, wah. My, he wakes up in the morning, he goes, I do have a confession to make. I'm like, what? You know, I'm all thinking it's going to be serious. He goes, I did have some Ritz crackers before bed. You mean all of that was avoidable? Thanks. And it's like his birthday weekend, so you can't even be mad at him. Like, please, never again. Oh, so sorry. I digress. But happy birthday. I love you so much. You're the better part of me except for that portion. Last week, we had the privilege of hearing from our missionary friend. I'm going to keep it all very vague because we're live today. But it was so good to catch up on his story and see what him and his family are doing in India. And so he is around for a couple more weeks, 2 or 3. I know he's in and out of the state, but he is at least in the U.S. for a little while longer. And if you get a chance to connect with this mystery man, it would be per your delight because he is such a cool guy to talk to. Our current series that we're running through is the book of John. And 2 Sundays ago, if you were here, you might remember that James closed out chapter 17. It was the end of the Last Supper where Jesus prayed. And he prayed not just for his disciples, but for all of us too. And in verses 20 through 21, Jesus says, I am praying not only for these disciples, but also for all who will ever believe in me through their message. I pray that they will all be one, just as you and I are one. That idea of oneness, how the unity in the body in Christ isn't just a nice thought, but something that Jesus really longed for on his way to the cross. He prayed that that deep connection that he shares with the Father would show up in us, in his people. And Jesus' prayer wasn't just about keeping the disciples safe in a hard season, it was about shaping their witness to the world. He was saying, when you are one, the world will see me more clearly. And here's what's wild. Jesus prays for that unity in chapter 17, and then immediately in chapter 18 that we'll get to today, we watch his closest friends scatter, betray, and fight. The very thing that Jesus prayed for is the very thing that they struggle to live out. Does that feel relatable, anyone? Jesus prays that we would be one, and yet we know how easily relationships fracture, how quickly division creeps in. That's the tension that we carry with us as we turn the page. Chapter 18 takes us from the intimacy of the upper room to the chaos of a garden, from a prayer for unity to a scene of betrayal. And in that tension, in all of it, Jesus steps forward. And so if you'll open up with me this morning, we're going to be in John 18, and we're going to look through verses 1 through 11. So John 18, 1 through 11. But before we begin, I'd love to pray. would you just be in our midst? We're so thankful that you are a God that is with us. And so would that just be true more than ever right now? As we're just hearing your word and trying to lean into your spirit, would you just help my words land? If they're not your words, don't let me use them. Would you just calm my words and my speech? I know sometimes I get rambly. So would you help, Lord? I pray for all of the people in the other parts of our building, those little kids to the big kids. I just pray that they would be having a lot of fun today, that they would know that you are a good God. All right. So John 18, verse 1. After saying these things, Jesus crossed the Kidron Valley with his disciples and entered a grove of olive trees. Judas, the betrayer, knew this place because Jesus had gone often there with his disciples. The leading priests and Pharisees had given Judas a contingent of Roman soldiers and temple guards to accompany him. Now, with blazing torches, lanterns, and weapons, they arrived at the olive grove. Jesus fully realized all that was going to happen to him, so he stepped forward to meet them. "Who are you looking for?" he asked. "Jesus the Nazarene," they replied. "I am he," Jesus said. Judas, who betrayed him, was standing there. As Jesus said, "I am he," they all drew back and fell to the ground. Once more he asked them, "Who are you looking for?" And again they replied, "Jesus the Nazarene." Verse 8, "I told you that I am he," Jesus said. "And since I am the one you want, let these others go." He did this to fulfill his own statement. "I did not lose a single one of those you have given me." Then Simon Peter drew a sword and slashed off the right ear of Malchus the high priest's slave. But Jesus said to Peter, "Put your sword back in its sheath. Shall I not drink the cup of suffering the Father has given to me?" If you've heard me teach before, surprise, you know what's going to happen. We're going to slow it way, way down. I love to go back through verse by verse because often in my own life, and maybe this is true for you in the room, sometimes we sit down for our Bible reading and it's like a marathon. We're just like, it's like a speed race, like we're the rabbit in the rabbit and tortoise race. I am guilty of that, where I just want to check the box sometimes on reading scripture. And so this is what this time is carved out for, right? That we would actually get to learn from the word today. Today we're going to take a deeper look into just 11 verses. And we're going to slow it way down. We're going to look at the details and really pay attention to what's happening. And as we go verse by verse, we're going to explore what's happening, why it matters, and how it connects the bigger story of Jesus. So verse 1, after saying these things, Jesus crossed the Kidron Valley with his disciples and entered a grove of olive trees. Anytime we read something like, "after these things," we should really pause and ask, what things? In this instance, these things refer to everything that Jesus had just said during the Last Supper. He talked about his teachings, his warnings. He had his prayer for the disciples. He reminded them of who he is, who his Father is, and what following him really looks like. He told them, "I am the way, the truth, and the life." One of his many "I am" statements. He assured them that the Spirit would come to guide them and told them to take courage because he had already overcome the world. And after all of that, Jesus moves from that upper room to a new place. But is it really a new place? The NLT that I read from, the New Living Translation, calls it a grove of olive trees. But if you're reading from other translations out there, you might have noticed, I know in the ESV and NIV, it uses the word garden. And many of us know this place as the Garden of Gethsemane. And other gospel accounts like Mark, Matthew, and Luke, they all use this name as well. Gethsemane. That garden name actually literally means oil press, which is really fitting, right? This would be a place of both physical and spiritual pressing. And this is just a really great example of why it's important when we're trying to look through and read God's word, that not every version by itself should stand alone, because one word in a different version can illuminate a ton for us. So why garden matters, that word garden. It should make us think of another garden. I know it made me think of another garden, the Garden of Eden. In Genesis, the first Adam hid in shame after sin entered the world. And here in this place, we see the second Adam, Jesus, stepping forward. He walks into the world fully human, fully God, fully aware of what he is about to face. Where Adam in that first garden failed, Jesus succeeds. Where Adam hid, Jesus steps forward. Just hours earlier at the Last Supper, Jesus told his disciples exactly what was coming. He knew one would betray him. He knew he would be arrested. He knew every detail of what was about to unfold, and yet he moved forward. Not in fear, not in confusion, but in total control and trust with the Father. This is God in the flesh, the great I am, stepping into the moment that he came to face. And John, our writer, his attention to the setting, the garden, it connects us to this moment back to Eden and forward to redemption, reminding us that what is happening is all a part of God's bigger plan to restore humanity. Verse 2, Judas, the betrayer, knew this place because Jesus had gone there with his disciples. So here John introduces Judas, and he has a lovely tagline for him, the betrayer. Like, I have never wanted anything less next to my name. That sucks. It's ouch, right? And I think Judas often gets a really bad rap. I mean, his end to his story is not a great one, but I want us to step into his shoes for a moment. This wasn't just about Judas choosing evil. Judas was someone who probably thought he understood how following Jesus would play out. He may have imagined Jesus establishing his kingdom, bringing justice and overthrowing the Roman rulers right there as human. Like all of us, right? He sees his life through a very limited perspective, interpreting what was happening according to his own expectations. And then there's Jesus. He knows exactly what Judas will do. He is super aware of the sellout moment that is about to unfold, and yet Jesus doesn't ever push Judas away. He doesn't disown him. His invitation is always open. And Jesus chooses to meet Judas here in this place, a space that they often gathered. This place was a sacred space, not just a grove of trees. It wasn't just a hiding spot, but a place where I imagine there were probably many conversations, where Jesus, I imagine, taught, where life had been lived, where the disciples might have wrestled through questions, hopes, and fears, and now it's in this very same place that the deception unfolds. If it were me, if I was Jesus in this moment, we wouldn't be here. If I knew all that was coming, no thanks. Judas, you're gone. I don't think you're that cool of a guy. You seem pretty rude, pretty deceitful. Bye. But thank God that I am not Jesus. That we're not Jesus, right? Jesus' love is wild for even the betrayer. He stays, he meets here in this place anyway. And that's the depth of our God's heart, even in the face of pain. These last few weeks, I've found myself asking, Lord, how did you feel about that? Most of us, myself included, myself probably number one, I am quick to notice my own pain. And at times, I'm okay at noticing other people's with the help of God. But how often do we stop to ask our Maker, how did you feel about this? With all that's happening in our world and the things that feel overwhelming and heavy, that question keeps coming back to me. When we wrestle with why do bad things happen, there are 1,000 directions that we could go. But what draws me in most is, how does my God feel about it? And this scene, I was really struck. Jesus, how did this moment feel for you? What must this moment have been like for you? To imagine, let's remember that Jesus was fully human. living through all of the stuff, the glorious stuff that makes us human. It's hard, right? And yet he was also fully God, steady in his purpose and aware of every detail. The reality of that moment, it's staggering. What must it have been like to see someone that he had loved and poured into take a path that would lead to both of their deaths? Someone you trust, someone you've invested in, someone you shared your closest moments with, choosing something that is ultimately going to hurt you in the deepest way possible. And I imagine we've been there in some form, right? The hurt, the misunderstandings, the disappointments, they cut really deep in relationship. And when that happens, there's a strain. That's part of what makes this moment so human. Jesus felt that too. He was fully aware of the pain and weight. And even as he moved towards all of it, he had purpose. And yet, to be honest, we don't fully know what it felt like. I think it's an okay exercise for us to sit in. But the weight of this moment carried the weight of the world. Our experiences multiplied infinitely. So we can sit here with the tension and heartbreak, but we will never walk in the shoes of Jesus. The way that he did, bearing the full weight of sin and hurt and death, knowing exactly what he was facing and why. That was Jesus' choice for us. He stepped into our suffering with full awareness and his perfect love. John, our writer, though, he chooses not to focus on the agony of the moment. You might remember in other Gospels, the writers zoom in on the struggle in the garden. You've got Jesus' prayer and the sweat and the wrestling. But John tells it in his own way. So I want to be true to John's telling of the story, because this is John's lens of what happened, and it's his flavor, if you will. And I promise it's still rich with insight. And so as we move into verse 3, notice how this sacred, familiar place sets the stage for what is about to happen next. The tension is building and the paths are converging, and every detail John gives us is meant to help us see the heart of Jesus. Verse 3, the leading priests and Pharisees had given Judas a contingent of Roman soldiers and temple guards to accompany him. Now with blazing torches, lanterns, and weapons, they arrived at the olive grove. Okay, picture this. Judas shows up with both temple guards and Roman soldiers. It's not normal. It's not like a normal thing that happens. These two groups don't usually just hang out. The temple guards kept order in the temple, and the Roman soldiers represented the occupying force. So why both? Well, if I just had to humanly guess, Judas was probably thinking that Jesus was going to resist, that there might be a little bit of a fight that was about to happen. He's like, more the better. But what's really happening is bigger than Judas's expectations. The religious leaders didn't have the authority to carry out the death sentence under Roman law. So they brought in the Roman soldiers that could make sure that Jesus could be arrested and ultimately sacrificed, or executed, as they would put it. This moment is where human authority, both religious and political, come together, and yet it's all still a part of God's plan. Jesus is not surprised. He's not like, whoa, no way, this is happening. He isn't even resisting. You'll notice it says he steps forward. Fully aware, not powerless, but purposefully surrendering. God is not like us. What Judas and the soldiers see as control and force, Jesus sees as a pathway to redemption. The presence of both the temple guards and the Roman soldiers isn't about confusion. It's about God's plan unfolding exactly as it should, and Jesus willingly walking into it. And as they come loaded with lanterns and weapons, torches, again, every detail matters. Those torches and lanterns, those are just human-made lights. They're human-made, trying to shine light in a dark place when the one who is already the light of the world is there. Darkness crashing into light. Human effort trying to take on divine truth. And those weapons, imagine they're sharp and heavy. They're pretty intimidating. This armed crowd is marching into the night to arrest the very source of life. That's wild. actually talks about this light and darkness theme over and over again. Back all the way in chapter 1, he calls Jesus the true light that shines in the darkness. And the darkness hasn't overcome it. In John 8, Jesus says, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness. Even in his letters, John emphasizes over and over again walking in the light as living in the truth and life. And so here in the garden at night, the torches and the weapons of the crowd press up against the ultimate light, thinking that they are the ones in control. But our God, that light of the world, he's aware of everything, divine, human, and he's totally unshakable. Verse 4. Jesus fully realized all that was going to happen to him, so he stepped forward to meet them. Who are you looking for? He asked. Jesus fully realized everything that was coming. He knew the backstabbing, the suffering, the humiliation, and all of it, and he willingly steps forward. He wasn't dragged. He wasn't surprised. This was all a part of the plan. And then he asks the question, who are you looking for? You guys, I'm certain that Jesus has a sense of humor. I read this and it makes me laugh. Who are you looking for? Sorry, who is it? It's a simple question, but there's a lot in it. Jesus asks questions like this all the time. Questions that revealed hearts and exposed intentions and made people confront reality. He doesn't need the answer, but he makes them say it out loud. He brings what's hidden into openness. And in this moment, Jesus does the same thing with the people coming to arrest him. He makes them say it out loud, why they are there, confronting their own intentions. And without even realizing it, maybe making them face how blind they are to who he really is. Jesus asks us each this same question. Who are you looking for? Who are you trusting? Are you looking for me, the one who steps into pain with purpose and love, or are you chasing something else? Are you chasing control, comfort, or a version of life that you think that you can handle on your own? Like Judas, like the armed mob, like everyone standing in the grove that night, you are too faced with the same question. Who are you really seeking? Verse 5. Jesus the Nazarene, they replied. I am he, Jesus said. And then there's a little notation. Judas, who betrayed him, was standing with them. Notice what they call him, the person they're looking for. Jesus the Nazarene. That's not a compliment. It's dismissive. Like they're brushing him off. Nazareth was a small, insignificant town. It was basically like saying, we're looking for that guy from nowhere. That's the one we're looking for. They're reducing him, ignoring everything that he has done, everything that he is, treating him just like another man. And in the mix of all of the dismissal, John makes sure that we notice that Judas is standing there. He's like, oh yeah, and Judas was there too still. It stings. It reminds us of the weight of what's happening. This was someone that followed Jesus, that saw all of the things. And now this man is standing alongside of people saying, this is Jesus the Nazarene. Then Jesus responds, I am he. Or in the Greek, it's just, I am. You may remember hearing Jesus say, I am, because John tells it in the gospel a bunch. And each time it gives us a glimpse of who God is, who Jesus is, revealing God's character in ways that we can understand. The first one is the bread of life. The second one, I am the light of the world. The third one he brings up, I am the door. The fourth, I am the good shepherd. Number 5, I am the resurrection and the life. Number 6, I am the way, the truth, and the life. And now in John 18, we hear it for the 7th time. Who are you looking for? He asked. Jesus the Nazarene, they replied. I am, Jesus said. Some of you might be thinking, wow, Mackenzie, you can count to 7. Impressive. I'm so glad they gave you the mic today. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. But no, in Scripture, 7 is a really important number. It signals fullness, completion, perfection. And so as I was reading this, I was like, this is nuts. I even told Joel, and he was like, hey, you're talking to me while I'm doing other things, and you seem really excited about that. You're going to have to reel it back. But think about it. We can look all through Scripture, but these are just some of the ones that come to mind. Creation itself, God's good work, 6 days, and on that 7th day, everything was complete, perfect, and at rest. In Isaiah 11, there's the 7-fold Spirit talking about wisdom, understanding, counsel, might, knowledge, fear of the Lord, delight in his commands. God's full Spirit revealed. And then if we go back to Revelations, or forward, I suppose at this point, 7 churches, 7 seals, 7 trumpets, 7 bowls. God's perfect plan unfolding complete. And so this 7th I am statement lands in this perfect spot right in the middle of what looks like chaos. There is no one there that would count that as a victory in that moment. But Jesus knows exactly who he is. He is exactly who he has always claimed to be. Even here in the darkness, in the tense moment, Jesus steps forward and declares his identity. I am. He's not just Jesus from Nazareth. He's the eternal God, the one who existed before anything else, the one who sustains all things, the same one who told Moses, I am who I am, in Exodus 3. John shows us that in the middle of human aggression and misunderstanding and of betrayal. Jesus remains divine, working until doing his job until it's complete, until God's plan is all the way carried out. Verse 6, as Jesus said, I am he, they all drew back and fell to the ground. This part, I was like, whoa, they all fell to the ground. Well, it doesn't say they all. It says they fell to the ground. It doesn't say all, but I think John's a detail guy. If he thought only a few did, he'd be like, and a few guys fell to the ground. So I assume it as an entire army, right? These soldiers and temple guards, all of their weapons and torches just all hitting the ground when they hear the words, I am. No fight, no struggle, just the undeniable presence and authority of Jesus revealed. It's almost like a preview of what Paul writes in Philippians 2. Every knee will bow and every tongue will confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. Even now, before the cross, before the resurrection, before the full plan of redemption is complete, the power of God's identity is pressed on those around him. John wants us to see this isn't just a man being arrested. This is our God stepping into his story and the world, even in its resistance, responding to his presence. And this isn't the only place in Scripture where God's presence makes people fall back. Think of Moses at the burning bush or Isaiah's vision in the temple, where the holiness and authority of God is undeniable. People can't just stand there as usual. They're confronted, humbled. For us today in our lives, John is pointing to something vital. When we encounter Jesus as he truly is, not just a teacher, not just a prophet, but fully God stepping into the story, it should change how we stand. It makes me wonder, did any of those who fell to the ground, even for a moment, think, maybe he is who he says he is? How often do you or I dismiss what God is doing, ignore it, dig in, thinking that we have it all figured out? This isn't about shame, you guys. It's about noticing ourselves in the ways that we too resist, where we miss or we underestimate God's presence. And what if we leaned in a little closer to what God is actually doing? Jesus' words, I am, carry unstoppable authority. The one who who steps into pain, the one who will go to the cross, is divine, sovereign, present, and commands our attention. Verse 7, once more he asked them, "Who are you looking for?" And again they replied, "Jesus the Nazarene." You think after being knocked flat, literally falling to the ground, they might rethink who they were looking for. They might chill out, they might take a breath, reconsider. No, you know what? We were just walking around, never mind. But no, what do? They double down. We are here for Jesus the Nazarene. Even in the face of what I think is undeniable truth, they stick to their story. That is what sin and spiritual blindness can do. You can be confronted with reality, even overwhelmed by it, and still refuse to see it. You can fall, but your heart stays hardened. Your eyes stay shut. This is an invitation for us. What if instead of digging in, we stayed curious? What if we let God shake up our assumptions that we hold, the control we cling to, or the version of life that we think we can handle? What might we see if we allowed God to move freely in our hearts, in our families, and in our world? Verses 8 and 9, I told you that I am he, Jesus said. And since I am the one you want, let these others go. He did this to fulfill his own statement, I did not lose a single one of those you have given me. Jesus isn't just answering a question. He is establishing who he is. He is spelling it out for everyone there. I am he. This isn't just the Jesus from Nazareth thereafter. It's the eternal, sovereign God who has been walking alongside them the whole time. And then he makes the request, let these men go. He's actively stepping in and taking the place of his friends. He's saying, if you want me, take me, but leave them out of it. This act, it also fulfills Jesus' promise from earlier in John 6. I did not lose a single one of those you have given me. Our God keeps his word. He's faithful. He's trustworthy. Judas wasn't lost because Jesus had failed him. He chose duplicity. But it's also clear that he was blinded by his own expectations, by the circumstances that were unfolding all around him, and by a desire for a God who probably looked a lot more like what he wanted. Someone who would deliver victory and justice on his terms. And even in that, Jesus never loses those who truly cling to him. Not because of our own faithfulness, but because of his. Our hold on God is fragile, but his hold on us is unbreakable. Verse 10, then Simon Peter drew a sword and slashed off the right ear of Malchus, the high priest's slave. Peter, classic Peter. Oh, he had sworn he'd die for Jesus. And now here's his chance, right? Fear, loyalty, and maybe a little bit of pride all collide, and he lashes out. He grabs a sword and chops off this guy's ear. It's not exactly the heroic moment that he probably imagined. Peter was not a trained fighter. He was likely aiming to stop Jesus' arrest and maybe hit bigger, but he missed. And even if he had taken down one person, I imagine there's a dozen more. Like, what was really going to happen there, Peter? What was your plan? His plan didn't exist. It didn't exist, right? He let panic and a limited understanding take over. Remember, just earlier, Jesus had told Peter that he would deny him 3 times before the rooster crowed. Perhaps some of this is Peter trying to prove himself, to show his allegiance. I've got this, Lord. But here's the thing, Jesus doesn't need Peter to fight for him. He invites Peter and us into the work that he is already doing. Not into trying to control or enforce it. And notice, John even names the guy. Malchus, this isn't some anonymous story. These are real flesh and blood people living through a moment none of them fully understand. Peter strikes him on the ear. And again, in other gospel writings, they give more notes that Jesus heals that ear. of disruption, even as all of these things are unfolding. I mean, this is the man that's getting arrested. He's like, wait a second, let me heal this guy's ear. He's bringing restoration. His mission isn't about fighting back with violence. It's about life, healing, and moving forward into his plan, even when human hearts fail or misunderstand what's happening. All right, we've only got one more verse. How are we doing? Are we still on? If you guys are like, no, but it's too late. Sorry, I've got the mic. Verse 11, but Jesus said to Peter, put your sword back into its sheath. Shall I not drink from the cup of suffering the Father has given me? And here it is, the choice, clear in view. Two ways to live. The way of the sword or the way of the cup. The path of force or the path of surrender. Peter wants to fight back to protect Jesus with force, but Jesus, he chooses surrender. Even here, in the middle of his arrest. God's kingdom is different. This isn't the kind of war that we usually imagine. Jesus is not just going through violence. His way of life is about love and obedience to the Father's plan. And this cup, it's not just a poetic image or a casual metaphor. All over the Old Testament, the cup often carries this weight of God's wrath and judgment. It's symbolic of the full measure of consequence for sin. And when Jesus says, this is the cup the Father has given me and I will drink it, he's not just talking about a mild inconvenience or a symbolic gesture. He's stepping into the full weight of humanity's brokenness. Willingly. This is obedience taken to the extreme, but it's more than obedience. It's love in motion. Jesus doesn't flinch, he doesn't strike back, demand justice for himself in that moment. He embraces what must come so that the world might be saved. The one who made the heavens and the earth could do anything, but he chooses to take on the suffering that the Father asked him to face. He's not walking in blind. He knows everything, and still he goes all in. Our God understands our limits. He understands our misunderstanding. He sees Peter's fear, Judas's betrayal, and still moves forward. That is the heart of Jesus. That's grace in action. And right here in these few words, we see the essence of the gospel. That good news. God stepping into the story, taking suffering on himself, opening up the way for life, and inviting us to follow. Not by force, but by trust. So we've sat with these verses, we've read them, we watched a scene unfold in a garden, and in those details, I promise you, John is doing more than just telling a story. He is revealing who Jesus is. In just 11 verses, John does it again. Even in the middle of all of this craziness, the fullness of Jesus, his power, his love, his purpose shines through. In this garden, he steps forward where the first Adam once hid. Courage and obedience meet, life restored. Two simple words, I am. And armed soldiers fall before him, a reminder that our Creator is unshakable. He steps into the story of his friend's fate, saying, take me and let them go. Living the story of the cross before it even begins. Even as he moves forward into the cup of suffering, he remains obedient and loving, right there, restoring an ear. Showing that life, love, and restoration are at the heart of his kingdom, even if the violence around him never notices it. 11 verses, that's all it takes to see a God who steps into chaos, carries the weight of the world, and calls us to follow, not with force, but with trust. The Bible's pretty cool. I want us to look, who do you see yourself in this morning? Maybe if we're honest, you're like, Judas, darn it. So caught up in our own expectations that we can't recognize what God is really doing. Or maybe you're one of the soldiers. You're just caught up in the midst of what everyone else is doing, and truth wants to speak up a little bit louder to you today. Or maybe you're like Peter, you're full of passion and good intentions, ready to act, but missing the heart of what God is actually up to. Well, there's another way, the way of Jesus, to respond not with control or fear, but with trust. To keep stepping forward even when the path is unclear, even when the plan feels confusing or painful. As I was prepping today, I kept thinking of the story of Lazarus, and I know it's late, so I'll be really quick. But if you don't know it, Lazarus was a dear friend of Jesus who became very sick. His sisters, Mary and Martha, sent a word asking for Jesus to come, but Jesus didn't rush to their side. By the time Jesus arrived, Lazarus had already died, and his sisters were heartbroken. They wrestled with that wide variety of emotions. If any of you have had grief in your life, you know what that's like. Lord, they said, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. Felt like Jesus waited too long. But that waiting wasn't absence. It was actually a part of the plan. Jesus used the delay to set the stage for something far greater than anyone expected. When he finally arrived, he raised Lazarus from the dead, revealing God's glory and power in a way that changed everything. Sometimes God's timing feels like neglect or a denial of love, but in reality, it's often the proof of it. He's working behind the scenes, preparing something bigger than we can see. The devotional that I'm in puts it this way: for Lazarus to be raised from the dead, Jesus knew that he would have to die. Jesus wouldn't just look at death, he would have to drink it down to the dregs. Yet here was love in the flesh, dying to raise his friend. That's exactly what is happening in this garden. This arrest, suffering, the cup of wrath. Jesus isn't facing death, he's taking it all on. He isn't just facing death, he's taking it all on, fully, willingly, knowing every heartbreak, every moment of pain, every weight of sin, so that life can come, so that salvation can come. Every move, every act in that garden is intentional. Nothing is outside of his purpose. Even when his friends misunderstand, misinterpret, even when fear and doubt cloud the moment, Jesus keeps moving forward. He knows the cost, and he obeys without hesitation. He loves without limit. He remains steadfast in that plan that brings life. And just like Lazarus, what feels like delay, we're standing here going, what are you doing, Lord? None of it makes sense. Oftentimes, that's actually a part of God's greater work of love and redemption. And here's the thing. You're like, why'd you bring up the Lazarus story? That story set into motion the very arrest that we just walked through. It was the moment where Jesus did something real big and no one could keep their mouth shut about it. It was like a preview of what was to come, a moment of heartbreak, of loss, of seeming chaos. Like, God, where are you in this? None of this makes sense. If only you had been here, my brother would not have died. These are people watching the guy that they claim to be their savior, and now who is this man? He's getting arrested. How is this winning? But in that moment, in God's hands, what we look through our human lens is actually a thing that points to life. The ultimate display of love. And as we close, I just want us to consider a couple last things. Where is God inviting you to put your sword back in its sheath? Sometimes we're quick to draw that sword. Not like a real one, but sometimes it's our sharp words. Sometimes it's our defensive posts or the urge to prove that we are right. But maybe God is inviting you to pause before reacting and let that sword rest. Our God does not need defending. He wants you to trust in his ways. Where is God asking you to trust instead of fight? We often fight with control, anxiety, or the need to make things work our way. But Jesus reminds us that the Father's plan is already in motion. Trusting does not mean doing nothing. Don't hear me say that. but it does mean loosening our grip on our plan. Where is God meeting you in your moment of misunderstanding? Where you feel really confused about how life is going, or you're just really scared? Can we be honest? Life brings a ton of moments where nothing makes sense. When we allow fear and our own sense of self to cloud our vision, it's overwhelming. But Jesus doesn't rush or panic. He remains calm and present, if only we will open our eyes to the reality of who he is. He meets us right where we are, not frustrated with our humanness, but fully aware of it. The one who made the heavens and the earth stepped fully into the brokenness of this world, into hurt, violence, suffering, and even eventual death, and did it willingly out of love. Jesus didn't go quietly because he had no power. He surrendered because this was the way that love would win. The story of Scripture is moving forward to Jesus' moment of self-giving love. And here in this garden, we see him actively stepping into it. This love is not just something to admire, but something to practice. It's an invitation into the same way of Jesus. Let this morning be an invitation to follow, to trust, and to experience the depth of his love. Even when it doesn't make sense, even when it's hard, even in the moments that feel like waiting, really long waiting, or you've experienced loss. You're going, how can you turn this around, God? Our God is the God who meets us, redeems, restores, and carries forward his plan of salvation, all in the shadow of the garden. Let's pray. God, we just thank you that you are trustworthy, that you're faithful. Would you help us this morning to be people who don't just talk the talk, but we actually walk the walk, even in the spaces where we're scared and afraid? Would we lean in a little bit closer? Hurt people, and we're really good at hurting people. But you, God, are so gracious. You're so good to us. And so I pray that we'd be able to separate out where man has hurt us and where you have always been good. Just thank you for the arrest in something that looked like, how could this ever be good? You, Lord, change those things for your good always. You're in control. Would we just lean into that this morning? Help us. Holy Spirit, we invite you to move us. Get us uncomfortable. Shake us.